Well, good afternoon, everyone. We have a special report here from Hurricane Ida. It is making landfall. It has made landfall already right off across the Louisiana coast with approximately 130 to 140 mile an hour winds in some areas. It is a Category 4 storm as it is moving on shore. We've been watching it into Grand Isle across the area, and of course we're going to continue to have some images for you this afternoon, and we're going to give you the latest that we can see with our cameras thanks to hurricanetrack.com and Mark Sudduth. We're going to have Bill Reed and possibly some other contributors that are in the area with you this afternoon, roughly at about 2 o'clock time frame. Until then, we'll continue to show you the radar and the latest imagery that we have from the storm as it is beginning to approach into Louisiana. Again, has made landfall this afternoon. It is moving northward, and again, some very, very strong winds associated with that. This is we're going to be looking at 10 to 15 feet here of some storm surge in some of the areas coming across into southern Louisiana, particularly in the area near New Orleans. We've been watching content there to see what's been happening in that region, and we've been watching the water come up, particularly in the Grand Isle. That has been the most devastating so far this afternoon. We do have some messages that are out from the Hurricane Center, basically saying this is an extremely life-threatening storm. It will bring life-threatening storm surge 9 feet or higher, and that's what we have been seeing so far this afternoon as this thing moves through. Catastrophic wind damage can be expected. We're going to be looking at damages to structures, to trees, to other things that are there on the coast. We could see some very strong winds move into the New Orleans area within the next hour or so. So if you have some friends, you have relatives that are in the New Orleans area, we will keep the radar up. We'll show you some imagery throughout the afternoon. Again, we'll continue to show you everything that we can for the afternoon period. We'll bring Bill Reed and some others with us at 2 o'clock. We'll be live here. So please share it out. Again, this is a special report on Hurricane Ida this afternoon, brought to you by the National Tropical Weather Conference, NTWC Live. Imagery is courtesy of hurricanetrack.com. Mark Sudduth. Radar is via radar scope. We're continuing to show the information that is available for the afternoon and the evening hours as we see this system begin to move through the area. Again, we'll have the imagery up for you, and we'll keep it up for the afternoon. We will have some experts in within the hour to talk about what we're seeing and what we can expect. Again, we are monitoring Hurricane Ida. The National Hurricane Center declared the landfall of Hurricane Ida at 11:55 this morning Central Daylight Time as a Category 4 hurricane with maximum sustained winds of 150 miles an hour and a minimal central pressure of 930 millibars over Port Fourchon. That is the official landfall at 11:55 this morning, Category 4 storm. We'll continue to monitor the system throughout the next 45 minutes or so. At 2 o'clock, we'll start our discussion.
Plylock's commercial window clips are extruded aluminum clips designed to make boarding up your business a breeze. They're designed to fit 3/4-inch plywood without drilling destructive holes or using adhesives on your aluminum mullion window frame. They are a simple way to protect your windows from high winds, airborne debris, and even looters. To install, first measure each window casing. Cut plywood to the recorded size of each window, less 1/4 inch off the height and 1/2 inch off the width. Place the Plylock's clips on each vertical side of the plywood cover. They should be spaced no more than 24 inches apart. With the set screws facing you, insert the panel into your window frame and tighten the screws alternating from side to side to ensure the plywood is centered. Tighten set screws to 80 inch-pounds. For larger windows or sliding glass doors, just use additional Plylock's clips spaced no more than 24 inches apart. If your windows require splicing, ensure that your splices run horizontally. To remove, just loosen the set screws and remove the plywood. Protect your business with Plylock's.
NTWC Live special report on Sunday, August the 29th, the 16th anniversary of Katrina making landfall near New Orleans, and now we're dealing with another storm. 16 years almost to the moment of Katrina making landfall as the storm goes in. And we're just going to give you a quick update on what's happening and show you some pictures and just talk about it a little bit, because we know the folks in Louisiana are having a tough time today. So Bill Reed's with us. Good afternoon, Bill. Getting ready to go on your little trip out of town, but before you do, you're going to give us an update. Thanks, Bill.
Sure. I'm just going to kind of hop around to a bunch of little things. We've made landfall now, so we're heavily into the impact and short-term forecast mode of the storm. So I think I'll start with a picture of the radar. And I've been finding it quite interesting to flip back and forth between a high-resolution satellite, the radar, and the recon tracking reports since early this morning to witness the continued intensification in landfall. If you recall yesterday morning, it was about in the 987 range millibar storm as it was moving towards the central Gulf. And the expectations were that the environment was correct. We were crossing a warm eddy in the central and north central Gulf of Mexico, that we should see rapid intensification. And boy, howdy did we. 50 millibars later, we bottomed out in the low 930s before landfall. I think it made landfall shortly before noon near Port Fourchon. And here we are several hours later. It's still looking quite good on radar. It hasn't shown much filling in the eye, and the eye wall is still very intact. In fact, it's somewhat of a dual eye wall structure. Probably would have gone through a replacement cycle if it had stayed over water. And I'm just tracking along the track there, and we're coming up on 25 miles out of Houma, Louisiana. And we were hoping to get Tim Marshall on board, but he's probably having plenty of things. His hands are full now, awaiting the impacts as he chases the storm down there in Houma. After Houma, it's supposed to start turning more of a northerly direction, but it's certainly going to impact the much more heavily populated metropolitan area around Baton Rouge with the core of the storm. And even the strong outer rain bands are affecting the New Orleans area. So while the damage reports are still kind of sketchy right now, a lot of people speak, and it's going to be a long and rough night for the folks in southeast Louisiana. Let's stop share here for a minute, switch modes. Find my weather here. Oops, well, you're going to have to see my email that I haven't taken care of today first. This is an animation on the upper tropospheric water vapor loop, and zoom in here a little. Here we go. Kind of chugging along here. Come on, baby, run. Anyways, it shows the very moist environment that it's in, and you can see in this relatively short loop that the outflow is pristine in all the quadrants. There's no shear issues, no dry air intrusion, and that was consistent overnight, well up into the landfall we have now, and not much change in any of the philosophy. High pressure is over here, high pressure in the west, and the weakness in the middle is moving around the high pressure to the east, and that's going to be the story of it as far as that goes. More traditional imagery, it's going to jump around on me. Keep changing the center of orientation on that, which is useless when you're trying to look at a loop. But again, it shows the completely cleared out eye. It was online. I saw a 1.5-minute clip from the NOAA Hurricane Hunter plane of driving through the eye wall and punching out into this pristine eye with the deep blue sky above it. So it's almost a perfect eye presentation, and it doesn't show any sign of really weakening. There's a swath of higher, colder tops working around the south into the east side there. So I think it's going to take it a while to spin down as we go forward. This was a recon from a little earlier. Another plane is out there now. I guess they'll be running beach patrol, as they call it, keeping up on the wind field that's still ongoing offshore. And one of the factors probably in holding together as it comes inland, in addition to the environment, is that it's almost, with the tidal flooding that's going on, it's like it's still over water, even though it's made landfall. And it'll be that way until it gets up past Terrebonne Parish in a few hours. And this just shows the large size of the hurricane force wind field and the strong tropical storm well out into the areas offshore of Mississippi and Alabama at flight level, and that the pressures have held together in a very low reading. There was a screen capture of a weather station in Golden Meadow in Terrebonne Parish when they were in the eye, and they were still at not. They were reporting 936 millibars and near calm winds at that time. That was just about 30 minutes ago. Very consistent on its way in. See if there's anything interesting. Trying to follow all the plots on there. I think the wind direction's gotten screwed up at Grand Isle. The anemometer must have lost its bearings in there. It's about 180 out of what it should be. There's been a lot of gusts to 100 or so in the area that the northeast quadrant went across. Some of the buoys with the platforms up high had gusts approaching 120 before we lost communication with them. It's just the eye wall is approaching this airport in south of Fruit Airport there, and it's gusts are approaching 100 miles an hour at that station, and we await what will happen in Homa as it comes up through there later today. A lot of strong east winds, Mississippi Sound pushing into the coastline near New Orleans, and that's right now where the highest tidal readings we've been able to monitor on the gauges. Speaking of which, I like to look at this site from NOAA called Tides and Currents. It has a lot of information on it, but the aspect I keep looking at today is the tide readings, and these blue ones, light blue ones that are animated, so to speak, are the NOAA tide stations, and the other ones are other stations there. It looks like we may have hit our peak there at Waveland in the coast, the westernmost part of the coast of Mississippi, and it's somewhere in the 6 to 8 foot range for the highest storm surge they had there. Shell Beach was riding pretty high. Wrong one. Trouble with those non-standard stations is a lot of them don't have any data. Here we go. Come on. Yeah, they're starting to turn over also. And again, they're in the 7 to 8 foot range for a storm surge at the time. All these are preliminary. They'll go in and do high water marks and whatnot. It'll be some time before we know what the actual peak values of the surge were at that point. The latest tropical weather outlook, before we get into the track of our Hurricane Ida, is we got a lot going on there. While we were sleeping, Tropical Storm Julian decided to form up. Its history is to keep out to sea. TD10 looks horrible on satellite. Don't know if it'll make tropical storm or not, but it's forecast to move northward in there. And two new areas have popped up. This small area of low pressure with some convection, not given much of a chance of developing off the mid-Atlantic. And the next wave coming off of Africa, it's 80% over the next 5 days. So no rest for the weary. We'll probably be about time to close the books on Ida. We'll start worrying about this storm. Personally, I haven't even looked at where it may or may not be going in there. Okay. I thought I'd show you this a figure put together by Sam Lilo over at the Hurricane Center. This is a compilation of all the official forecasts. And this is an example of why I tell people, don't waste your time dwelling on all the vagaries of the so-called spaghetti plots for the different models. The consistency and skill set at the Hurricane Center of condensing that information into a viable forecast, and shows you just how good they were with the storm. There's not much variability, both in track and intensity. I think it was probably one of the most one of the few times that depression was forecast to have the possibility to rise to a major hurricane on an initial forecast, similar to what was done with Harvey. Let's see what else I got out there. And here we are with the latest forecast. It's on land. Hurricane warnings stay up. They probably will stay up for quite some time as it spins down, and the storm not going to slow down as much as they forecast earlier. So it'll keep moving, which may reduce the rainfall. The forecast still for significant rain, as I'll show in a minute, but down to a depression in about 36 hours after landfall, and it's moving into northern Mississippi, but continuing as a discrete post-tropical storm all the way out into the Atlantic, and that'll enhance the rainfall along that path for those folks during the week. This was the peak surge forecast, 12 to 16 foot in the area for the mouth of the Mississippi over to landfall, 8 to 12 on either side of it. Looks like, at least initially, maybe it was in the lower end of those ranges there, with some surge all the way over to the Florida Panhandle on the east side of the storm. And again, the rainfall, large area of 6 to 10 inches of rain expected, some isolated 15 to 20 where the core of the storm is now and will be for the next 6 to 10 hours. But pockets of very heavy rain as we come up through the mid-Mississippi and Tennessee Valley and then on into the Northeast. 6 to 10 inches of rain over the hilly areas of the Appalachians in here would lead to significant flash flooding were it to occur. I think I'll stop there and let Alex and Tim show us some of the stuff they've been looking at.
Yeah, Alex, you got some pictures and some of the cameras that you've been watching. Our friend Mark Sudduth at Hurricane Track has got some cameras up there. What do you have, Alex?
Yeah, I've got one right up there right now. You can see that. That's the one the Weather Channel had up early this morning with the anemometer. Pretty good shot there of the wind really picking up. You've got some wind, and of course you've got some of the waves going on. That's obviously just.
I don't see it. I assume the viewers can. I can't.
Yeah,
see
the
it.
viewers should be able to see it. And,
okay, just making sure.
Yeah, they should be able to see that. Let me bring that over to you. Maybe sure you can see that, and there you go. So should be able to see it now. But that's the imagery that we're looking at right now on that particular one out across the area. And of course, we've got the full screen radar here. And while we're doing that, I'm going to pull back and see if we can get another image here. I'm going to pick one out here from looks like Des Allemands, Louisiana. Let me see if we can go back to that one. There's that one. You can see the wind on that one, and I'm not sure if there was anything, maybe one of those paper wrap-ups on that upper billboard back there, but it looks like that's pretty well gone, and we may have some damage there. Something's on the ground about center screen, and that camera's shaking up a little bit. You can see the area there. I'm going to see if I can bring that up full screen, and we'll take a look at that. You can see the winds really blowing the trees around quite a bit on that one. So some good shots coming out of that. Let's see if we can go back up to radar, and I'll select another one as we take a look. Let's pull back up here. Let's see if we can go over to Golden Meadow, Louisiana. See if that'll come up. Well, looks like we're getting a blank screen on that one. The camera may have gone out. This is next one is Gulfport, Mississippi. There's Gulfport right now, and that one's kind of frozen. I think the imagery, maybe the internet connection is out, but you can see the waves on that one really picking up with some wind-blown waves on that one. So let's pull back up. We'll go back out. There's a Lake Pontchartrain Causeway. I'm not sure if that one's animating or not. Looks like it is. There's full screen from Lake Pontchartrain. It looks a little quiet at this point. But things are probably going to get active there pretty soon. Let me pull back out. We'll go take a look at another image here. And this one looks like La Place. And boy, that looks like the water's coming up there. Take a look at that. That is definite surge that we're looking at. So that's kind of what we're seeing on that point. Let me pack up here, and we'll go back up to radar. Boy, that one's really looking good on that surge cam. Then let's see, we've got another one over at Manville, and that one kind of looking a little quiet at this point. Not much happening. Pretty quiet overall. So back up to the radar. Bill, normally we're going to be seeing stuff a little stronger here back over on the northeast and east side, correct?
Yeah, I would think so. I think it's a part of it's a function. There's not a whole lot of stations where the eye wall is right now, and the other part is what is there may be knocked offline with the power outages and communications down.
No doubt. I'm going to see if I can bring up another image here. We had tried to get some other folks in here with us today, but I'm having a feeling their internet's probably having some issues out there. We're going to go over to Waveland. Here's an image that Mark has set up over at Waveland. There you can see it, a little bit of the wave action coming up on that. Can you see that, Bill?
Yeah.
All right, looks like we lost Tim, but I'm thinking we're getting Tim back in again. There he is.
Oh, yeah, wait. Yeah, I have the former hydrologist in charge of Slidell, Dave Reed, is retired and has a place in Waveland, but they wisely decided to evacuate to another place they have up by Hattiesburg.
Oh, that's probably a very wise decision to do that.
Yeah, they had bought this house 2 weeks before Katrina. Not this house, but that property. The house that was on it was washed away by Katrina.
Oh, wow.
They know they're well aware of the vulnerability. And
all right, let's
Just for a couple of minutes there.
Yeah, I think it might have been your internet there.
I think it's the internet on South Padre Island.
Is that on South Padre? Yeah.
Yeah. But while you're talking about this, and I missed a couple of minutes of the conversation, but I think how many people, regular contributors to this program, do we have in Louisiana right now that are in the fire?
We've got Tim Marshall's out there, and we also have Jim Eds, Josh Morgerman, and Hal Needham, just to name a few.
Mark
Sudduth, care of all these cameras. That's what we're looking at. These cameras are courtesy of Mark. He's given us access to those so that we can see them.
That's the one with the weather thingy.
Yeah,
the
exactly.
Wind thingy.
That's the little wind thingy thing that we see going on right there.
I heard that on network television this morning. Put a little wind thingy in that.
Yeah, I guess they forgot what an anemometer was.
Yeah. I was a meteorologist too. But Sudduth is. So I think when this is over, at the very least, we're going to have a lot of amazing information because most of them are researchers. I mean, some are doing just chasing, but others are researchers, and I think the data that's going to come out of this is going to be remarkable.
Oh, no doubt. Definitely going to see a lot of that come out. And one of the things that was going to be interesting to watch here is that we had a message earlier from the administration there in LaCroix that their levees were going to be overtopped by 5 or 6 feet and probably stay that way for about 12 hours, which is going to be a little bit of a rough situation for them out there with that much water. They're already below, in my estimation, they're below when you have a levee. And then if you've got the levee being overtopped and you have 5 to 6 feet above that levee, that's a tremendous amount of water coming in.
And you always worry about, I don't know how that levee's built once the water is overtopping it, how well the earth behind it holds together with the flow that's coming across it.
Right. It'll weaken it and it'll pull it right out almost right away.
How different is the track of this from Katrina?
Quite a bit west of Katrina. Actually went up the east side of the extreme east side of southeast Louisiana. So the New Orleans proper was on the left side at landfall, and we all thought, I was at the Hurricane Center for that. We all thought they dodged the bullet, as it was making landfall, because the winds were basically in the 70 to 80 mile an hour range. on the exposed areas on the east side of there, which shouldn't have caused a problem. And then we saw the video of the failed levees, and we knew it was a whole different animal. And it pushed that's what caused it. Of course, being that much farther east is what caused the most horrific storm surge that went into Mississippi and Alabama. And I think it was 300 and some people lost their lives due to surge over there.
And a lot of people have stayed home in Louisiana. You hear from each of these little towns. There's 10 people in this town and 27 in this town. And I saw an interview with the sheriff or somebody in one of the small cities out on the coast. And he said, yeah, people have been straggling to the police department because we've got a strong building. So they're coming in here because their homes weren't safe anymore. They tried to ride it out, and that was the last refuge of last resort. It was police department building, you know. It was interesting that he was watching through a bulletproof glass window. All the buildings in the neighborhood blown away.
Yeah, was that the police chief there in Grand Island?
Yeah, I believe that's who it was. Yeah. So even bulletproof glass would still make me nervous to watch out in the middle of a hurricane. I don't know.
It's good. I mean, think about it. It's the same basic concept as the windows on an aircraft. Something along at what, 600 miles or 450 miles an hour. Except when you might take off in a flock of geese, you're doing pretty good.
Yep. That's true. So, well, I'm just scared to death of the stories we're going to hear after this. Just like it's not going to unfold just today. This is going to unfold over the next week and stuff. You know, just we start to see what really happened.
Exactly. I'm checking over here on the website and Facebook page for Hal, since we haven't got him here. But he did create a Facebook page called Hurricane Ida, and people are posting on that. And there's some pictures coming in from Grand Isle. Boy, it looks like things are not happy there. Lots of water. Looks like folks are going underwater really quick up there in Grand Isle, at least a little bit earlier. I'm not sure what it's like now. I haven't seen a more recent image, but yeah, a little tough on the outside right now.
Yeah, they're still on this strong onshore flow, so the surge isn't over with there yet.
Yeah. That eye is still so well defined, but like you mentioned, Bill, though, so much of that South Louisiana land is not land.
Yeah, not now. Yeah.
And nothing to tear apart just yet. And so, you open up to Baton Rouge, you're going to have trouble from this, and they're a long way inland, long way from the actual Gulf of Mexico.
Exactly.
Yeah. If you recall when Gustav came in on a weaker storm, but fast moving also, they had a lot of trees down and a tremendous amount of damage in Baton Rouge from that as it passed by. I would think the same or worse could be expected with this.
I'm not looking at the radar right now, but the position of this is such that it's going to push significant amount of water up the Mississippi. Will it not? I mean, it looks like the position is just about right. Do you see that? That makes it.
Yeah. Yes, I didn't. I was neglected to think about that, so I didn't get the chance to look at what the surge model stuff showed, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. Because actually, if it's just in the right spot, that it's just coming right up the mouth of the Mississippi, which pretty powerful, interesting stuff. Well, guys, our prayers are going out to everybody in South Louisiana right now. Just kind of waiting to see what happens. We'd hope to have some people on here with us today that are there, but of course they're a little bit busy right now. We're hoping to be on before landfall, but obviously it moved up a little more quickly, and all of our people that are in harm's way right now. And hopefully they're all in safe places where they're all okay. And if you're watching, I'm assuming you're not watching from harm's way. You're watching, I know I see Barry's on here, and we got some people watching from Florida this morning. Unfortunately, let me see if there's anybody else. Let's see. Barry says he agrees with you, Bill, on how good the forecast track was for this, forecast and intensity. And, forecast tracks have gotten pretty good, but the thing that really stood out to me was the intensity forecast on this. Everybody expected rapid intensification. Everybody, it was remarkable. I think it was a remarkable forecast. As good as I've seen on both accounts.
Yeah, as little as 10 years ago when I was finishing up my career over there, the chance of capturing a rapid intensification in any of the model data was about 1 in 10, probably more like 4 to 5 in 10 now. And that's mainly on the short term. I mean, it's a pretty good call to catch the environment correctly and the path over that warm eddy to make the probability or the chances of something like that happening better than usual. So that helped make this forecast.
And what is this, the fourth rapid intensifying storm in the last 4 years? Is that what we were talking about earlier this week?
Yeah. Each season puts more credence into that speculation, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, Alex, you got anything else to show us? Any other cool pictures in there?
Yeah, let me see if we can pull back out, and we'll first see if we can put the radar up, and maybe we can get that going in there real quick to show you what we've got going, because I know we've got some more pictures that we can show and see what's happening. So here's our radar. We were just looking at Laplace Place, and let's see, we'll go up here and get one more shot up at Gulfport to take a look at that. There's a look at Gulfport right now as we see it. So you can see what's happening there in Gulfport. All right, let's go back up to radar. We'll take a look here, take another couple of looks. Let me find a good picture that's got some motion in it. Not sure if that one, that looks like Waveland, Mississippi. And it might, yeah, that's Waveland. So you can see the water's already starting to come up, surge is already starting to come up there. The last time we looked at that, there was a little bit more beach to see. And so we're starting to get a little bit of that water rise, particularly out there in Mississippi. And again, they're back out there on that east side of that thing. So it could be rather interesting to watch what's going to happen there. Let me check. There's one more picture up here at Avondale. And this is, I presume they just parked the truck here because I saw the wiper go by just a little bit. But doesn't look like there's much action at that point, so they're probably at a pretty quiet spot. So we'll come back up. I think the most telling is back up here over at Laplace Place, where you can see that water really coming up. See how far that's come up quite a bit? That is now up. The last few frames, the last times we look at that, there was a white picket fence out there. You cannot see that white picket fence, just barely. Just barely the little tips of that at this point.
Wonder how high this camera is above ground.
That's a good question. We'll be finding out because it looks like it's up there quite a bit, and that water is up above that fence. And I'll bet that fence is at least a 4-footer that we're looking at. And so we're looking at 4 feet of water likely already coming up and continuing to go up.
Well, all right, guys.
One quick update for you. I looked at the river stages on the lower Mississippi there, and I don't know how much of it's direct surge, but I think most of it is the high water is slowing down the ability of the Mississippi to drain. So it's risen rapidly since yesterday, about 6 or 7 feet in that area below Baton Rouge.
Wow. Lots going to happen. Right.
Pardon?
No, I said I just agree. I said yeah. All right, guys. Any other thoughts before we wrap up? It's just a good update today. We were hoping to have some of those guys again in harm's way with us, but they're busy, so we'll talk to them after the fact. But any other thoughts about today besides thoughts for the people in Louisiana?
I think we're probably going to need to be watching all those levees today to see what's going to happen. As we get the overtop and what the resultants that's going to be. I think that's the next thing that we're going to need to be watching here for the next few hours.
Bill?
That sounds good. We didn't mention the long loss of power and the power outages and the accidents and the injuries and fatalities you have after a storm. I hope people learned from Laura last year the carbon monoxide risks and finding out roofs to fix things and being careful.
Absolutely. All right, well, guys, we'll wrap it up. We appreciate everybody that's been on today. Barry, thanks for tuning in and posting some good links for folks to follow. There's some good information on there as well. We appreciate that, Barry. Our next regularly scheduled program is this Wednesday. We'll be talking with Black Magic Design, more of a tech show, but we'll do some time, spend a little time in that show, kind of going over what happened over the weekend. And maybe we'll get another guest just to join us just to talk about what they experienced on Wednesday. So we may go a little bit outside the bounds of the normal program if we're able to. So thanks, guys. We appreciate it. Bill, have a good time away, and we'll talk to you when you get back. And all of you at home, we'll see you on Wednesday morning, 10 a.m. Same time, same channel. If you're in Louisiana, please stay safe.
All right, we're clear.